The Gardner Museum Heist. 13 items of art were taken from the Boston area Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in the wee hours of March 18, 1990. Two individuals who claimed to be police officers responding to a disturbance were allowed in by the guards, and over the following hour, the criminals robbed the museum while the guards were bound. There have been no arrests made, no works have been found, and the case remains unsolved. The FBI and art dealers have estimated the stolen works to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The greatest bounty ever offered by a private organization, the museum is offering a $10 million reward for information resulting in the return of the works of art. Art collector Isabella Stewart Gardner originally purchased the pieces to have them on permanent exhibit at the museum alongside the rest of her collection. One of them was the concert, one of just 34 paintings by Johannes Vermeer that are known to exist and which is regarded as the most priceless unrecovered picture in the entire world. The sole seascape by Rembrandt, The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, is also absent, along with a largely worthless eagle finial and Chinese goo. Other works by Rembrandt, Edgar Degas, Édouard Manet, and Govert Flinck were also stolen. Experts were perplexed by the selection of art because more priceless pieces were overlooked. Empty frames are still hanging as a tribute to the works that are still missing and as a stand-in for their eventual return because the collection and its arrangement are permanent. The robbery was allegedly planned by a criminal group, according to the FBI. The FBI has relied heavily on interrogations, undercover informants, and sting operations to gather information because the case lacks substantial physical evidence. They have mostly concentrated on the Boston Mafia, which at the time was engaged in an intriguing conflict. One theory holds that gangster Bobby Donati, who was assassinated a year after the robbery, planned to negotiate for the release of his capo regime from prison. Other reports claim that a gang in Boston's Dorchester neighborhood stole the paintings, although they continue to deny any involvement, even after a sting operation resulted in the imprisonment of some of them. Despite being promised reward money, shortened prison terms, or even freedom in exchange for information that led to the recovery of the artwork, all have denied any knowledge or have provided leads that proved useless. Background: Isabella Stewart Gardner, an art collector, oversaw the building of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, which now houses her collection. The museum opened to the public in 1903, and until her passing in 1924, Gardner continued to build the collection and organize it. With a $3.6 million endowment, she left the museum with instructions in her will that the artwork's placement should not change and that nothing should be sold or acquired for the collection. The museum was out of money by the 1980s. The museum was in terrible shape as a result of the financial burden. It lacked a climate control system and insurance, and simply needed basic structure upkeep. The museum allocated monies to increase security after the FBI discovered a 1982 scheme by Boston thieves to rob the institution. 60 infrared motion detectors and a closed-circuit video system with 4 cameras positioned around the building's perimeter were among the upgrades. The Board of Trustees decided against installing cameras because they believed it would be too expensive to do so in the historic structure. Additionally, more security officers were hired. Despite these upgrades to security, pressing a button at the security counter was the only means to call the police to the museum. Other museums at the time had fail-safe mechanisms that required night watchmen to telephone the police hourly to verify everything was okay. The operations of the museum were examined by an independent security expert in 1988, who found that they were comparable to those of most other museums but suggested changes. The Boston Museum of Fine Arts security chief also recommended strengthening the institution's security. The Board of Trustees did not approve these security upgrades due to the museum's financial difficulties and Isabella Stewart Gardner's wishes against any significant changes. The board also turned down the security director's demand for higher guard pay to fill the position with more suitable candidates. The pay for the present guards was just above minimum wage. The guards were aware of the museum's security weaknesses. Robbery. The robbery took place in the early hours of March 18, 1990, a Sunday. Several St. Patrick's Day partygoers leaving a gathering close to the museum saw the burglars for the first time at 12:30 a.m. The two males were parked in a hatchback on Palace Road about 100 feet from the side door while posing as police officers. The onlookers mistook them for police officers. Rick Abath, a regular night watchman, was on duty that night, and Randy Heston, a 25-year-old museum guard, was doing his first night shift. According to the security protocol, one guard sat at the security station and the other roamed the galleries with a flashlight and walkie-talkie. First on patrol was Abath. Fire alarms went out throughout the museum during his patrol, but he was unable to find any fire or smoke. Abath went back to the security room where he saw smoke coming from several different rooms on the fire alarm control panel. He turned off the panel assuming there was some sort of problem. Before finishing his rounds, he stopped momentarily at the museum's side entrance, briefly opened the side door, and then quickly closed it. He then resumed his patrol. He kept his actions and motivation from Heston. Around 1:00 a.m. Abath finished his tour and went back to the security desk, where Heston started his rounds. Stolen works of art. 13 pieces of art were taken. The FBI initially pegged the worth of the find at $200 million. By 2000, they had increased their estimate to $500 million. Some art dealers predicted the haul's potential value to be $600 million in the late 2000s. It is regarded as the most expensive museum heist. The empty frames for the stolen paintings are still hanging in their respective locations in the museum as placeholders for their future return because Gardner's will stipulated that nothing in her collection should be relocated. The director requested assistance from Sotheby's and Christie's auction houses to offer a prize of $1 million within 3 days due to the museum's limited resources and lack of insurance. In 1997, this was raised to $5 million. It was increased to $10 million in 2017 and given a year-end expiration date. Following a flood of public tips, this incentive was increased. It is the biggest bounty a private institution has ever given out. Information that directly leads to the recovery of all of the items in good condition is the criteria for the reward. According to federal authorities, anyone who voluntarily returns the products won't face charges. The statute of limitations also ran out in 1995, making it impossible to bring charges against the criminals or anybody else involved in the theft. Letter to the museum from 1994. And Hawley, the director of the museum, received an unidentified letter in 1994 claiming to be trying to negotiate the return of the piece. The author claimed to be a third-party negotiator and that they were unaware of the identity of the burglars. As the opportunity to keep the artwork had passed, they claimed that it had been stolen to lessen a prison term and that they were now seeking to negotiate its return. In a non-common law country with climate control, the author claimed the artwork was being kept. They demanded $2.6 million for the return of the artwork and immunity for themselves and everyone else involved. The money would be transferred to an offshore bank account simultaneously with the delivery of the artwork. The Boston Globe should publish a coded message if the museum wanted to negotiate. The writer provided facts that were previously only known to the FBI and the museum to create credibility. A probe into the Boston Mafia. In March 2013, the FBI revealed substantial developments in their investigation. They claimed to have identified the criminals with a high degree of confidence and to have reason to assume that they belonged to a gang with roots in the Mid-Atlantic and New England. In the years after the theft, they also believed with that same confidence that the artwork was moved to Connecticut and Philadelphia, with an attempted sale in Philadelphia in 2002. They asked the public for assistance in locating and returning the artwork because they have a limited understanding of what transpired after that. The FBI reported that both thieves had passed away in 2015. Sources involved with the investigation claimed that although the FBI did not publicly identify any individuals, they were connected to a gang from Dorchester. The group operated out of an auto repair shop owned by criminal Carmelo Merlino and was devoted to Boston Mafia leader Frank Salem. If you liked this video, follow us and you will find many videos that will help you to transform your life. Thanks for watching all the video. Please subscribe and hit the bell. See you soon.